Jennifer Snaz. You're watching News 24 Live. I'm joined in studio by sex and relationship columnist Dorothy Black, and today she's going to tell you what the two biggest mistakes you are making when it comes to relationships. Hello.
Hey.
What's up?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Now we're speaking relationships today, and the two biggest mistakes people make when it comes to being someone's partner. The first one is thinking that men and women are so different. Now I've heard so many people, so many of my friends be like, well, men and women are just different. And there have been several books written about it, several studies done. Why is this not the case?
Well, my feeling about it is that when we talk about how men and women socialize, that they socialize and think so differently, that men communicate in one way and women communicate another way. I think the biggest foundation that rests on is that women are more emotional and men are more physical, you know, so men express their love physically through sex, and women need more cuddles and more love and more emotional input than men do. And so, yeah, there have been like tons of studies that go around how different men and women are, but I think essentially when it comes down to how we communicate and how we relate and how we want love, we are pretty much human. And so humans need social bonding, they need communication, they like togetherness, and you just see how children are brought up and how they're socialized. As boys don't cry, boys don't do feelings, girls are very touchy-feely, and sex is bad. And so we're socialized from a young age to believe certain things. And I think as we become adults, we start thinking that that's reality, and then we get books like Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, a book that kind of set the tone for gender differences in how we communicate. And I think it's done a lot more damage than it's done good. You know, I'm not saying there aren't physical differences between men and women in terms of hormones, there certainly are. But in terms of just being human, there's some practicalities to being human, and those are very similar. You
know, when that book came out, so many people thought, like, this is it. You know, it's really just penned everything about relationships, and this is why men do this, and this is why women do that. Why are people always trying to group us into these different gender stereotypes?
Right. Well, first of all, it's a very heteronormative gender stereotype, isn't it? Like, there are girls, and girls behave a certain way, and there are men, and men behave a certain way. And I think the reason that book did so well is that it helped to understand a very dysfunctional communication system and a very dysfunctional social system in how we had, like, gender binaried each other. And I think it's just incredibly old patterning, both culturally and through religion and through, you know, media and society, that I think just keeps being drip-fed one generation to the next. And it becomes very easy, because it's far easier to go, girls are this way and boys are that way, and then we don't have to deal with all the complicated things in between. You know, if you're trying to describe how men should speak to women and how women should speak to men, what you're premising that on is a very dysfunctional communication system. Instead of just going like, what we need to do is scratch that completely and just look at like how our communication needs to be better. And that takes a little bit of hard work, a little bit of exploration, a little bit of self-awareness, a little bit of honesty, all the difficult things we don't want to do. So we'd rather just stereotype, and if it doesn't work out, well, you just know how guys are. Oh, that sort of shit.
Now, I think people who are stuck in thinking in certain ways aren't just going to change those thoughts overnight. How do we start to move towards a relationship where we are thinking on the same level and feeling on the same level?
Right. Well, I mean, if you look at like the most typical ones, the one that we started off with, that men are more physical and women are more emotional. Men want sex, women want emotion. I think you need to question that first off. You know, so we think that men just like to sit in front of the TV and eat pizza and don't have feelings and drink beer. And then if that's a stereotype we're running on, that sort of shuts down any communication, any honest communication, any vulnerability for him or for her. So the first thing you need to understand is that men are people too. You know, as a woman, men are people too, and men need to be allowed to be people and humans with feelings and desires and off days. And then when it comes to sex, women need to understand that it's okay to kind of step into their enjoyment of sex. Sex for sex's sake, sex for pleasure, not sex to get something, not sex because they want to get married or they have feelings, and so they need to express this in a certain way. And so the first step to doing that is realizing that we all have needs that sort of span a huge array of needs, and that they're not gender defined. And that's a personal journey.